quite surreal to be going from serving drinks in Gatecrasher behind the bar in May to August of the same year. Tiesto and Roger Sanchez have got me on speed dial. So the day that the cafe was due to open, my bank account was the same as the company bank accounts. And I had €7 in my bank account, having spent every penny I've got on 2 new businesses and a full refurb of an existing one. Yeah, Hannah once. So she came to do a competition we held, and she was really good. Off of the back of her winning that competition, we gave her her own night. So she was doing every Sunday night in Viva. Then she went away, didn't come back for 1 year, and then she called me up and said, "Hey, I really want to come and do a night at Viva. I want to play at Viva again." And I know that she got popular, but I had no idea how popular she was. That was the busiest I've ever seen the bar in 11 years.
Nathan, Viva, I've got so much to talk to you about.
Well, I'm here. So
yeah, here you are. I think I'm just going to dive straight in. I actually don't know the answer to this, but when did you first arrive in Ibiza?
Okay, so a long time ago, basically.
Yes.
But probably not as long as some people think. So it was the summer of 2000. I was working at Gatecrasher in Sheffield. And I started off behind the bar. And after a month, I kind of proved my worth and I got given the job as bar supervisor. And then I heard rumors, this was in late 1999. And I heard rumors that they were going to go to Ibiza that summer. It was going to be their first big summer. And everyone was talking about it in the club. And I was like, well, I have to go to Ibiza. That's it. Like, I just finished university in Spain and went back to England. And I was like, okay, I don't really like England. I think I need to go back to Spain somehow. This is probably my way in. And I was just dropping heavy hints to like being blatantly going, when am I going to Ibiza? When are you going to send me to Ibiza? I was the only person in the company that spoke Spanish. And then one day, we had some VIPs. A band came in called Primal Scream, which I'm sure people listening to this will have heard of, but look, kids don't know who that is. And so they're upstairs in the office. Because I was the bar supervisor, they called down for a couple of bottles of champagne for the owner and for Primal Scream. And normally I'd send someone else up because I was too busy working downstairs. But I thought, I wouldn't mind meeting Primal Scream. So I took the bottles of champagne up myself. And as I'm there, corking the bottle, pouring it properly, being polite and nice, the owner of Gatecrasher said to me, "What are you doing this summer?" And I said, "I'm working for you in Ibiza." And he went, "Good answer. You're working for me in Ibiza." I was like, fantastic. Went downstairs and was like, "Yeah, I'm going to Ibiza. And within, I think, 6 weeks, I landed in Ibiza for the first time ever. I'd never been before. And I started off, literally, there was a 3-person team, and I started as like the driver, translator, like distant third on a team of 3. After a couple of weeks, the first manager, the first promoter quit. Then they brought in somebody else, and after a couple of weeks, he was fired. They brought another promoter in after a couple of weeks, and he was also fired. Things weren't going as far as they were concerned as well as they wanted it to, despite having Tiesto, Roger Sanchez, Timo Maas, and other big names. It just wasn't working. And after they'd fired all these other people, I think there was 7 weeks left, and they said to me and the other girl that was number 2 in the team, said, "Amy, Nathan, we're not going to bring in another manager. Do you guys want to run it?" And we're like, yeah. We can see what everyone else has been doing wrong all this time, because people come in with their own ideas that don't work. We've been sat there going, that doesn't work. We know what we need to do. And every week out of that 7 weeks, despite it being towards the end of the season and drifting off and getting quieter and quieter, every week was busier and busier than the week before. And I think the closing party we had was the busiest night of the entire season. So, it was really cool that at the time, I think I had my 22nd birthday in Ibiza that year. And I had Tiesto and Timo Maas and Roger Sanchez messaging me going, "What set time have I got tonight?" I'm going, fuck, like, okay, I think I know the answer to this question. This is where I would put it. So I'd give them their set times. I go, brilliant, thank you. And then I'd arrange to meet them later or pick them up later, and we'd go to the club. So they were playing the times that I arranged, and it was just quite surreal to be going from serving drinks in Gatecrasher behind the bar in May to August of the same year. Tiesto and Roger Sanchez have got me on speed dial. So yeah, it was quite a crazy first summer.
Absolutely,
Baptism of fire, as they say.
absolutely winging it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you speak Spanish. I actually thought you picked up Spanish in Ibiza, so that's not true.
No,
then.
I went to university in Alicante. So in 1998, I got the opportunity. I actually put this out on social media the other day. So I got a bad relationship with one of my teachers who, when you go to university, they give you a predicted grade. It's based on those predicted grades. You can go to the university of your choice, as long as you get the grades that you've been predicted. So I chose 5 universities with the points that I was told I was going to be predicted. And it's off those predictions you choose. And then he told me one score. And then when the time actually came to it, he wrote down a different one, a lower one. And I got rejected from every one of my universities because of him. I disputed it. It went back. The local council, like educational department, whatever, looked over my dissertation. They agreed with me and that it needed to be looked at. He'd given me a C. It was actually an A. And but by that point, it was too late. I've been rejected everywhere. So my only choice was to go to my backup university, was Sheffield Hallam. And Sheffield Hallam happened to have an exchange program with a university in Spain. So if I'd have gone to any of my first choices, I wouldn't be sat here.
Yeah.
100%. So because of that, university I didn't want to go to had an exchange program with a Spanish one. I came to Spain, and now I speak Spanish. Came to Ibiza because I spoke Spanish. So it all stems from that. I was 17 and I got my world ended.
Fate working.
Yeah, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. I mean, I don't know where I'd be right now. I'd like to think I'd be somewhere, pretty nice and just a very, very, it wouldn't be this. It'd be a very different life. So,
I mean, I've seen you flourish over the years, from
thank you.
Garlands all the way through to Viva and what you're doing now. How many businesses are you now involved with today? Because I know you've been evolving through different layers of businesses.
I'm gonna say 6.
And what are they?
I'm gonna lose track. So obviously I still have a bar in the West End called Soho. We're due to renew for this year. I've got Taboo, the strip club. I now have a Ibiza concierge company, so we're specializing in villa rentals, boats, charters, VIP table access, all that kind of stuff. I have Ibiza International, which is a real estate agency. I'm doing that all year round. So for example, we just did a viewing with a famous footballer, which I can't name, on Friday last week, and the villa's 35 million euros. So yeah, that's big high-end properties for that business. And I've got a few other bits and pieces. I'm a property developer. I've got some apartments in the mainland, which I buy, renovate, and then rent. And a few other things. I've still, I'm running a pool party for families and kids at Bambuku, which is the beach club next to O Beach. And I run some packages, and I put some deals together for some package holidays. And yeah, so I like to keep busy. Let's put it that way.
Just a bit. Where do you get the time?
Well, in the summer, I'll work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. And in the winter, I don't quite work as much. But yeah, I mean, even this winter, I've been writing books. I had a bit of a brainwave when I was on holiday. And I started, I've written a couple of books, and they're really performing quite well. So I was number 1 and number 2 on the Amazon charts.
I've seen that. Yes. Was it? What was the book about? Because what I'll do is I'll definitely pop the link in the description below.
Yeah, so the first one, strangely enough, because that's what I am, a serial entrepreneur. It's called The Entrepreneur's Playbook, and I released that in December. I had the brainwave whilst I was on holiday in October, November, and I wrote that out pretty quickly. It just kind of fell out. That's going really well. And then in October, before going on holiday, I got asked to do a speech, or a presentation more likely, to an MBA class, and they wanted to have someone with experience of hiring and firing. And obviously I've interviewed thousands of people, from dancers and strippers to PRs and sales staff and bar staff and whatever. So I've done thousands of interviews, and obviously I've fired quite a few
I
people.
remember you doing them at Pasha in London.
Yeah.
In a club, in a night. I remember that now. Good. Yeah. But I remember you sitting there interviewing people for maybe some jobs in Ibiza.
I think I was
at the event
to interview people outside of Ibiza for a job in Ibiza, because that's the norm now, because people want to have their job secure before they come.
Yeah.
And obviously it's really difficult to get a job here in Ibiza because most of them are already taken, or there's a lot less jobs around and a lot of jobs available. There's no sales jobs, there's no PR jobs, and so that kind of thing. So yeah, I think I was the first person to do interviews, or the first person I remember anyway to do interviews in the UK.
Yeah, because that was Pasha London. If anyone's wondering, I remember you sitting there. It was most bizarre. And also, I spoke to a good friend of yours the other day, Mr. Wilson, Adam Wilson, who's gone through the ranks and is now the marketing manager at High.
I feel like a proud father somehow.
Done so
because
well.
Obviously I'm a little bit older than him, but he came on. I had a ticket office in the old Golden Gate, and he was the PR. I don't remember how he became the PR. He will remember, I'm sure, but I don't remember how he became the PR. But he was really, really good. And we had such a good summer together, and he's a good laugh, such a good guy. And at the end of the summer, I don't remember whether he asked me or I just said, hey, what are you going to do in the winter? I haven't got a job yet. So, well, if you want, I can introduce you to the guys from Garlands.
Garlands, yeah.
I was working with Garlands. So I remember bringing him into the DJ box, and he met Dave and Huey. And I think later that night, or maybe he already knew Barry, so I introduced him to Barry. And I wouldn't say like the rest is history, but obviously that started his career as a club promoter working in Clubland.
Yeah, he did mention this.
Strengthened. I mean, he's absolutely smashing it now. So yeah, very happy.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a great chat I had with him at the weekend. And how did you get involved with Garlands?
If we go back a bit, so I was working with Gatecrasher 2000. Off of the back of working for Gatecrasher, I then went to go be the tour manager for Team Mass for just under a year. Whilst being on tour with him, we had a gig in Renaissance Nottingham, and they kind of like propositioned me at a meal prior to the gig, because we got chatting, and they're like, okay, we need someone to head up our Ibiza arm of the business. Would you be interested in come talk to us about it? I was like, well, yeah, tour manager is great. You go everywhere, it's fine, but it's quite easy. I like challenges. So I got the job at Renaissance, and I went to run 3 Ibiza seasons, plus also worked in their office in the UK. So that was 2001, 2002, 2003. 2003 was only a couple of weeks because of how I think they moved back to Pasha and got a couple of guest slots. Wasn't a full season. So I spent my first summer in England since 1997 was 2003. Hated it that much. I started putting the feelers out, and I was like, okay, I need to go back to Ibiza. And I had, remember Pepe from Canya and Coastline?
Of course, yes.
So I see Pepe the other week. Well, it was actually the start of last summer, and he waved and said hello. We all stopped and said hello, and it just reminded me as I see him. I was like, I ran back and said, Pepe, you probably don't realize it or you don't remember it, but I sent you an email in 2004 saying, hey, if you know of any jobs going that could be interesting for me, let me know. And he replied going, yeah, Eden's looking for a PR manager. So obviously I then got in touch with Isaac, and we negotiated the job over email, and I got the job as the PR manager and promoter for Eden. And I obviously had to thank Pepe. He'd forgotten that he had that influence, but I was like, I'll never forget. This is my 20th anniversary. Give or take a few days, I see him in the streets, so I had to thank him. So then I was 2004, working at Eden alone, doing all the stuff from Eden's point of view. And then 2005, we took Garlands on as an in-house promoted night. And I really liked the night. The music was great. The atmosphere was fun. It wasn't just, we're going to go to this night to go see that DJ. You went because it was fun, whether you turned up at midnight or 4 a.m. It was fantastic. So I was like, okay, well, if they don't have a promoter, I'll do it. I'll work 7 days a week anyway, and I'll just do for 3 days. I'll promote Garlands specifically, but whilst also doing the rest. So yeah, it wasn't maybe great for my timetable, because I was exhausted at the end of each summer. But yeah, I did that for free. For 2005 and 2006, I didn't get paid a penny extra
Wow.
to what I was already earning, because I just really wanted to do the job and I really enjoyed it. By the time I left and I opened up Viva 2007, I carried on doing garlands for one more year. And that was the first time I actually got a wage for promoting garlands.
Well, I never knew that. What were the biggest challenges in promoting parties back then in the wild noughties?
Well, I mean, you didn't have people turning up with tickets in their pockets. People weren't buying online. So your main challenge was, can you get your message out to people on the street? Because everybody was undecided. I mean, you'll remember, like, very rare would people have a ticket 2 days before an event.
Never. Yeah.
So I started this thing with garlands because I had my own ticket outlet and I could do the deals. He sent my PR team and my parade team around town going, if you buy your ticket today, you can get 2 for 1. As soon as it gets tomorrow, that's it, it's full price. And we used to, well, I mean, I didn't ever advertise it for anybody else, but we used to absolutely kill it. So we'd sell hundreds of tickets days before the event. And obviously then that's everybody talking to people they bump into, you know, any girls, boys that they meet in the bars that night. Oh, what are you doing? Oh yeah, we're going to Garlands tomorrow night. And they would be my PR team. So, I mean, the challenge always was selling tickets, but we ended up being the second busiest night behind Judge Jules consistently for the whole time I was running it. And then things changed after I left. But yeah, it was pretty consistently popular. And bear in mind, resident DJs as well. So
Absolutely.
it was, no big overheads.
Yeah.
But it's such a great atmosphere.
And let's move on to Viva. Now, I think many people watching this and listening to this will have great memories of Viva. I remember I was driving up the road and in my Escort Cabriolet, the blue one.
I remember that, yeah.
Yep. And you and Alex were in there painting. And it used to be called the Viva Bar.
Yeah.
And I used to work in the last drop opposite.
Yeah.
And I was like, what you... Yeah. And I was like, what? Yeah, the boozer for other people who don't know what the last drop was. And I was like, what are you guys up to? Oh, we're opening a workers' bar. And I was like, huh? But the ship's around the corner.
Well, actually, at that point in time, we weren't opening what we could... Now it's a workers' bar, so everyone knows it's the workers' bar.
Yeah.
But when I was reading through your potential questions for today, I was like, our idea wasn't to open a workers' bar. It honestly wasn't.
No.
It became a workers' bar very quickly.
Yeah.
Because I had this idea of, again, getting people to be your PR team. So I had this ticket outlet in Golden Gate. And, you know, at that point, I'm working for Eden. I could go into any bar in town and I'd probably get free, not probably, I would get free drinks, you know, because I'd help them out with guest lists. I'd be the point of contact for their season pass or whatever. So I'd get free drinks in every bar in town. But I had this ticket outlet in the Golden Gate, and the Golden Gate didn't do freebies. Not for me anyway, right?
Yeah.
But there were the big bottles of San Miguel, and they were €1 each. And I had a little tab running. At the end of the week, I'd pay it off. Might only be like a tenner. But I was like, after I was paying it off, going, hang on a minute. If someone like me can get free drinks everywhere, but €1 is so little for a bottle of beer, because that's where you are, it's convenience of where you are. And if that's good for me, surely anybody's going to buy a €1 bottle of beer.
Yeah.
So my idea was, let's open a bar, put €1 bottles of beer, we'll attract all the workers, it'll be busy. And then when tourists go past, they'll go, wow, it's busy in there. Boom, go in.
Yeah, the prices were low, weren't they?
So we do €1 bottles of beer, €2 triple vodka mixers. And yeah, the idea was just to have it full of workers so that tourists would come in and then tourists would spend their money. And it just became so busy with workers. And, you know, in a way, it's maybe a little cliquey, because if you're a tourist, you'd come in and you'd be like, you know, who's this just walked in? You know, they're not dressed like us. They look like tourists, you know, flashing glasses on and big fake noses or stag shirts or something. And quickly it just became, no, this is the workers' bar. Tourists sometimes came in, but not very often. So it just became the workers' bar.
Yeah, it was a great success. How many years did you run it for?
11 years.
11 years. Is that how... I didn't realize it was that long. And you've had some quite famous talent DJ there and come out of there, like Hannah.
Yeah, Hannah once. So she came to do a competition we held, and she was really good. So that was a given. She was always going to do well, and she played music I don't think I'd ever heard before. You know, it was kind of like
Basic baseline, yeah.
And I'd never heard it before, and I just thought it was fantastic. And how she played was fantastic, and how she controlled the room was fantastic. Off of the back of her winning that competition, I think I was running a night or something in Esparadis. So she got to play in Esparadis. So her first Ibiza club was Esparadis. And then then she also got to win the competition to play one of my Viva Voyages boat parties. And then
it was London. Was that one of the ones?
Well, we did those in London. We did like
did Hannah play
we did
then?
9. We did 9 in total in London.
Yeah, I think I went on one and Hannah was playing. I'm pretty sure at some point. I remember actually listening to one of Hannah's CDs right back at the beginning, before she was heard of, and I listened to it. And as you said, her music was different, but very heavy on the bass, and I was just shocked. You've got to listen to this. You've got to listen to this. You've got to listen to this. And she just blew up. And before you knew it, she was doing the opening or closing of Amnesia.
So she was playing, we gave her her own night. So she was doing every Sunday night in Viva, which meant that she could use the chalkboard. She was quite proud of the fact that she had a chalkboard outside and you put her name on and her list of DJs and everything. Then she went away, didn't come back for 1 year. And then she called me up and said, hey, I really want to come and do a night at Viva. I want to play at Viva again. And I know that she got popular, but I had no idea how popular she was. So we had like promoters on at the time, and I called the promoters, look, I've got a DJ for you. Her name's Hannah she wants to come and play in Viva, and I wanted to come play your night. And he was like a bit precious about it. He's like, oh, I've got my own lineup. And I said, no, she's playing. And he went away and did a little research and he messaged me back and he goes, oh shit, I didn't realize that's who you meant. Yeah, I 100% wanted to play. That'd be fantastic. And honestly, I had no idea. That was the busiest I've ever seen the bar in 11 years. I tried to go glass collecting and I couldn't even get across the room. It was absolutely heaving packed.
She blew up in 1 year, didn't she?
It went from
boom.
Yeah, from almost, just being on a Sunday and playing great music and being appreciated by workers to everybody knew who she was, and she was, she was it. So,
I actually sent her an email once, and I've got still got the email of what she used to charge. I'm not going to mention it. It was nothing, and compared to obviously how well she's done today. But
she played for my brother was putting on a party, and he asked me who he should book, and this was in like October, November. In Keighley, West Yorkshire. And I said, well, Hannah's fantastic. You could book her. And, Hannah's girlfriend at the time was from Leeds. So it kind of worked in. There's no travel, no hotel. And she headlined this event in this dingy little club. I did the warm up and there must have been 15 or 20 people there total. And Hannah's fee was 50 quid.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's similar on my email.
Let's say that was 2011, and then I don't think she came back 2012, and then 2013, she was boom everywhere and fantastic. Again, I feel like a proud dad when
of course,
because it wasn't just someone that came through and so and so, they've played here, or they've played. There's plenty of other DJs that have got names now and are big names on posters and something, but I never really had that much influence over. Them being a competition winner and playing on my boat party and I didn't have that kind of connection. Well, I'll tell you what, there's one thing. A lot of people always ask, why is Viva called Viva? And do you know the answer?
This is one of the questions. Your girlfriend at the time, misheard.
No.
Misheard the Viva Bar.
She was Spanish.
That's it.
And I said to her, I'm going to go. I was living outside of Barcelona in the winter. And I said, okay, I'm going to go to Ibiza. I'm going to go look around this bar. and I'm going to go see if I want to take it on maybe for 2007. She's like, okay, cool. Let me know how you get on. So I went over, took a look, came back, and she said, what do you think? I was like, no, the bar's really nice. I think I've got some real opportunity there. But I have to change the name. She went, why do you have to change the name? I was like, Viva Bar. It's an animal that lives in water, and it's like, slang for whatever. And it's like, you can't call bar that. She went, what? It means that. And I was like, yeah, it means that. She said, well, what do you mean? That makes no sense. How do you spell it? And I went, B-A-V-E-R. And she went, oh, because she's Spanish, Viva.
Yeah.
So she was like,
Viva.
no, I think you meant V-I-V-A. And I went, no, that's a great name for a bar. And that's it, in Viva Bar from ever.
I remember you telling me. I remember when it was a Viva Bar as well. To be honest, we had some really good times when it was the Viva Bar as well. It's always been a popular spot, and it was sad to see it go, and you moved on. But I would like to know, you got into the habit of what you had a good following of young workers who all got tattoos. How many tattoos?
41 of them.
41.
Yeah, it was 14 in one day. But
I remember that day. I was hanging around. They're all lined up at the. You used to pay for them, didn't you?
Yeah, I paid for them all. The first batch cost me I think, the 12 or 1,300 euros. It was crazy.
Was it after a particular party or something?
So what it was, I was like team building when I had these PR teams. I took everyone down to the beach. I put on food, drink, everything, music.
As you should.
Everyone have a great time. So I had a guy working for me called Alex Waring. And I had my Viva tattoo. And I said in passing in November when I had it done, I had such a great year in 2008. I tattooed Viva on me because I was like, I don't care whether the bar's going to close in 5, 10, 100 years, whatever. I want a memory of how good and how happy I was about this summer. So that tattoo is a memory for me. But I put it on Facebook. Hey, look, I've got a tattoo. Anyone else gets one, I'll pay for it. It was a throwaway comment, just like I didn't think anyone would take me up on it. So in the summer of 2009, so a good 8 months later, we were at this beach party, and Alex is having a few drinks and maybe get a bit merry, and he goes, "Oh, I want a Viva tattoo." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, fine, whatever. We're not going to leave the beach party to go up to get a tattoo and come back. We'll finish the party, and then we'll go do it." And then about an hour later, "Come on, I want to go get a tattoo." "Oh, come on, you're going to be finishing up soon. We're going to pause him for a little bit. And as we're packing up, "Come on, we'll go straight to do a tattoo." And I go, no, look, come on. We've got to get back there first. Let's just get there first. I'm just trying to put him off. I don't think he's really wanting it. Then as we're walking past Ibiza Inc. to get to Viva, he goes, "Come on, let's go in the tattoos." Look, everybody's here with me. I'm like the Pied Piper. We've got to get everyone into the bar. Everyone get a drink. And then we can just nip off, just you and me. And we'll do it. I still think I'm trying to put him off. As soon as we get a drink, take one sip of the drink. And Alex goes, "Come on, let's go get this tattoo." I went, "All right, come on then, let's go get this tattoo done." We got there, and obviously word spread like wildfire. All these people have had, a great day at the beach party with us.
Drunk.
All drunk and very, very keen to get these Viva tattoos. And so I didn't ask her, didn't shout it, didn't say anything, but people would notice, like, "Where's Nathan Alex gone?" "Oh, Alex can get a Viva tattoo." "I want one." And before I know it, there's a bloody queue of people, and the word spread around the West End. And it wasn't even, some people didn't even work for me. I didn't even know who they were, but they turned up. "Oh, can I get one?" I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And before we know it, it's, 2 a.m. and they're finishing up the 14th tattoo. And Alex was the very, very last one. He didn't even get it done first. He sobered up and was like, "Oh, no, I don't want to do this." But he'd already told people, "Yeah, no, you do it and I'll do it." So in the end, I said, "Look, mate, you started all this."
If memory serves right, was this the tattoo shop by the Highlander? I saw the queue. I popped my head round and saw this all happening at the time. I remember that specific night. And then they slowly started getting more and more through the summer. And you ended up with, over the years, 40...
Word spread. And I remember I was walking into my flat, and someone I didn't know knocked on my front door as I was going up the stairs. And I'm like, "Yeah, can I help you?" It's like, "Oh, can I get a Viva tattoo?" And I was like, oh shit, like some random stranger I've never seen before in my life recognized me and said, "I want a Viva tattoo." I was like, oh, okay. And that was just one of many. And eventually I think my brother has got the last one, and I was like, you can get one, and that's it. We're not doing any more. I don't need to spend like after 41 tattoos, I've spent a lot of money on other people's tattoos.
I was about to say that what was one of them, that is a bizarre story with some random just turning up at your door. And I was just about to ask, is there any other bizarre things you ever saw happen at Viva? Or is this just
so tons of crazy things. I mean, probably the funniest thing, although it was pretty disgusting at the time, I was DJing. This is when we renovated to it, like a nice DJ box, a Function One sound system.
Yeah.
And I used to do it every Monday, and I played like 5 or 6 hours, and I used to play the music I liked. And, it used to go down really well. And then, so I think it's about 3 o'clock in the morning, and someone came over to me and said something like, well, I noticed the crowd had like dissipated, and there was like a big gap in the crowd of the dance floor. And someone said something about, someone's taking a shit on the dance floor. And I was like, haha, yeah, very funny. Just like, I thought maybe I played the wrong record and it dispersed a little bit. And no, somebody had like taken a shit in the middle of the dance floor. But it wasn't that they'd done that. So what actually happened was, because we had CCTV, and we played it back later that night. I mean, Kim, who was working around the bar, had to get like the brush and clear it up. It was solid. It wasn't even like, it wasn't like it was like a mess. But so we looked it back, and this guy was like just dancing on his own. And then you just see him go tense up a little bit, and he's wearing like cargo shorts. And then you just see him shake his right leg, and this dark thing just falls out. And it just sits there. And that's what everyone else could see and probably smell.
My God.
And I'm going, how has this happened? How has someone taken a dump on the middle of the dance floor? It makes no sense.
Ibiza in the 2000s, it was great. I mean, I always hear about, and everyone talks about the late 1990s and how amazing it was, which it was. But I loved the 2000s purely because that worker community was, I think it was at its largest and its peak then when you had Viva.
I mean, we certainly felt it. I mean, it started, I can only go by from Viva, and being the workers' bar, or being considered the workers' bar, I think I had my finger on the pulse of worker community for a very long time. And it was really, really big and popular. And, the camaraderie was really strong in the mid-noughties, all the way through to about 2013, 2014, when things started to change and dip, and people were a little bit more snobbish, maybe not the right word, but, maybe more discerning. Was, in our era, in the 2000s, like the shit party and getting dressed up with the party, you'd do that for shits and giggles because your mates were doing it, and why the hell not?
We couldn't do it now.
People didn't want to dress up, they didn't want to get involved as much, and it was like, oh, why would I do that? It's so cheesy. Like, well, it's just fun. I mean,
do you think that social media has played a large part of that?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to think, if you're having like selfies made and everyone's sitting there, 2,000 miles away in the UK, I wouldn't say judging you, but they're going to be, oh, what on earth is my mate that I went to school with doing, wearing stockings and suspenders on a slut parade? Like, what on earth is going on? So when social media gets bigger and bigger and people start sharing these crazy pictures, and I just think, you grow up and you know that your life is going to be on social media, so you're a bit more wary about how you portray yourself. Whereas in our years, you just had a good time.
No one cared. And the thing is, a lot of people didn't know about Ibiza, and social media really opened it up, and it brought a different type of people over as well, a little bit less conservative or more conservative. And I think that we noticed it massively because we were very much theme led, and it started. Then obviously the morning events got banned, and then it was like a bit of a decline then because the workers couldn't really party in the morning anymore, and it was one thing after another, wasn't it? And I think things just changed, and obviously that's when you started expanding into other ventures.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to do more. I mean, it doesn't have to be any kind of niche genre. I mean, if I see a business opportunity and I think I can do something with it, I'll do it. So, I always wanted, because I was doing bar crawls. I had like a PR team selling bar crawls, and that was
of course,
I was super busy, and that became a big thing for a while. And we used to put 4 bars on the bar crawl. We'd all start in Viva, obviously, and work our way down the West End. So I was like, well, if I'm doing these bar crawls, surely I need 4 bars of my own, because then I can put bar crawls into my own 4 bars every night or whenever it's going to be. It's all well and good giving custom to other bars, but if I've got the bars, then I'm giving myself the customers. So that's when I started thinking about expanding and looking at other bars. And, at one point I did have 4 bars in the West End, but, there's 14 bars left of the 40 when I arrived in 2000. 4 bars would be a lot of the current open bars if we still had them. But I think I'm done with nightlife. I don't want to expand anymore.
What were your biggest lessons that you learned from running multiple venues? Because obviously you still have one. You still have 2 left.
I've got Taboo and Soho now, but it's the same building.
Yeah.
What I've learned is I can't be everywhere at once. So I'm very confident in running businesses myself when I'm there. But I find in Ibiza, in the nightlife industry, hospitality and whatever, it's difficult to find someone else that will work or act as you and take the right decisions as you will. So with all the best of intentions, it never quite worked out having managers in place. And I just have to do a lot of things myself just to make sure they get done. So I can't be everywhere.
Yeah, and that's the realities that people don't see. They don't see what goes on. They think it's just a glamorous thing that you're doing. I think early back in the day, we worked hard and we played very hard. But now it's a case of where it was harder to get the decent workers who you could rely on day in, day out, 7 days a week.
Yeah, I mean, I never had any problem getting workers to come work for me in Viva at the very start because everybody wanted to work there. My pitch to everybody was, look, you can go get a job somewhere else. They'll probably pay you more money. But here, you're going to be working with your friends. The customers are going to be your friends. You're going to be, well known. Everyone's going to know who you are. If you go to work in whatever tourist bar, no one's going to know who you are. And people want that kind of, it's not quite fame, but they want the notoriety of, you walk down the street and you go, oh, that's the guy that works in Viva.
Absolutely.
Because they're coming in your bar every night. So
I had it at the ship. I had exactly at the ship. As soon as I worked at the ship, everyone knew me. And it was just like, wow, it was early 2000s. You would walk down the West End and everybody would know you, and it was just like, whoa, my God, this is like really overwhelming.
Yeah, I remember it doesn't happen anymore, but I used to be able to walk down the West End, and if someone PR'd me, I'd give them a funny look, and they would go, "Oh, sorry, yeah,
I've had it."
And I was like, "Oh, wow!" But now, obviously, everybody PRs me because nobody really knows me. It's not my thing anymore.
No,
it isn't like that anymore, really.
So you had the hotel.
So what happened with the hotel was I'd seen that was massively underused, and it was only open for like six weeks of the year as like an overflow hotel. So I went in the office and I said, look, if this hotel ever becomes available, let me know because I'd be interested in taking it. That's all I said. 3 years later, in April, I got a phone call going, hey, are you still interested in the hotel? I was like, potentially. What's the score? We negotiated, and a week later I got the keys to a hotel, and I'd never run a hotel before. I had no idea what I was doing. But I had I thought I could do it, and I put myself to the test, and I was working probably 20 hours a day, and that was probably the most difficult summer I've ever had. I had a relationship at the time which did not last that season because I was working so hard and so many hours. And when we finally closed that season, and I knew that my phone wasn't going to ring at 7 a.m. with the police coming in, or we've run out of this, or, someone's locked out of their room at midnight, or we've given away the spare keys. Like, why? Like, what? Just common sense stuff that should never happen. I was hassled all day, every day. And the minute we closed the doors, I felt like this huge weight lifted off of me. We tried it again for another year, and it was similar. I tried to put, people in place to try and take a bit of the pressure off. it helped a little bit, but not really. And then I ended up swapping the hotel in a random deal for Funky Flares. So Flares hadn't been working for a couple of years, so the owner of Flares wanted the hotel back, and I was like, well, what do I get in return? Because I blagged it. What do I love the hotel. It's fantastic. This is my dream job. Why would I want to give this up? And eventually we negotiated for them to give me Flares in exchange.
I never knew you had Flares. Never.
Well, I renamed it. It's now called Revs. So
Revs, of course. Yeah. Yes. It's all coming back to me again. Honestly, my brain cells have been lost over the years, and I'm so glad I'm doing these podcasts. I'm remembering so much.
I'm living in it. Obviously, it's been a while. You come, obviously, but you don't. Once you're here and you walk
down.
Yeah. You remember
obviously, and my memory is not the best. I assure you.
So in 2013, we fully refurbed Viva with a Function One sound system and all that. We opened up Revs, 2 floors, again refurbed and rebranded. We also opened up a cafe, me and Alex, in the square opposite the shit.
Yep.
2013 was a really big year. And I remember the day that the cafe was due to open, someone came in and said, oh, when are you opening all the places tonight? And I was like, we're opening, the cafe, I think, was the next day. Revs was that night. And honestly, because I was bankrolling everything, it was all under me. It wasn't through a company. It was all autonomo. So my bank account was the same as the company bank accounts, and I had €7 in my bank account. So I had spent every last penny. And you remember, when COVID hit, imagine if that had been a COVID year, and I'm down to €7, having spent every penny I've got on 2 new businesses and a full refurb of an existing one. And I had €7 on, and I needed that till money from night one to be able to go and buy some food to eat. So it was proper, pants against the wall kind of time. But on the whole, it kind of worked out.
Well, you're obviously a risk taker, And
the thing is, I'm pretty frugal. Other people say tight as a duck's arse, but I'm pretty frugal. So
risky as well. Obviously.
Yeah, I have what I think is my general level of spend is quite low. If imaginary numbers, to live my life is €10,000 a year. If I earn 50,000, I don't go, oh, I'm going to spend double. I'm already spending what I want to spend. So I'll probably still spend 10,000 a year, but then I've got 40,000 a year to invest and do something with. These are imaginary numbers.
Yeah. You are what you are.
Whatever I get at the end of the summer as a lump sum, I go, right, now it's the winter. What am I going to do this? What am I going to do with this money? Where am I going to invest it? What am I going to buy? So everything's always an investment.
That's the entrepreneurial side of you has come through. And then you went on just to open, which I never thought you'd do, Taboo. You got into the strip club business. Now that is a completely different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I mean, I said to you earlier, it doesn't have to be in my genre of what I would get in the hotel. I'd never done a hotel before, but I knew that Taboo was becoming available. Richard wanted to leave, and I was like, and I knew people that worked there. I knew what business it was doing. I knew it was a good business, and I knew it was a good investment. On the whole. So I made a business decision, and I was like, okay, yeah, can I run a strip club? Yeah, I can run a strip club. I can run anything if I put my mind to it. I can muddle my way through, and eventually I'll probably be the best version of the strip club owner as you can possibly be, that I can possibly be. And it's been really successful. So that's been a really good.
What are the challenges running a strip club? I would know it. I would be really anxious about getting into that world.
The challenges are that your overheads are really high. So your income's high, but if you don't have customers come in, then your overheads are really high. So it's a big building with lots of electric, lots of water. You've got lots of staff who all want to earn money. And if you've got no customers and your staff, the girls will leave because that means they're not earning anything. Then you have to replace them. Or if you're too busy, you need to employ more girls. But then maybe the next week it's not busy, and then you've got people fighting. There's not enough work. So it's a bit of a plate juggling act. But it is good.
How do you keep it successful then? I mean, because it's up. Obviously, West End is up and down, and it is right in the middle of the West End.
It's very different to a bar. So bars in the West End, because there's only 14 left. They're still doing okay because there's less product and less customers. But we are a destination product. So people, like we had a phone call last night calling, hey, I'm coming to Ibiza middle of April. Are you open? It's like, well, as it so happens, that's our opening weekend. So yeah, we're going to be open. And people will come to Taboo. We've got a really good reputation, high scores on Google and what have you. So people, it's not a regular bar. You're not going to get, I'm just going to nip out for a pint. Oh, there's a strip club. I'm going to pop in and...
Of course, yeah.
It's people going, when I stag do, they go to strip clubs back home and they want to, they want to go to a strip club, so they come to a strip club. So we could probably survive, even if there was half the bars and it was just us and, half a dozen bars left, we'd be fine. Not not as good, but we'd still survive.
Because it is a completely, as you said, different clientele altogether. But obviously I've never been into a strip club.
No, obviously. I mean, can't imagine you ever would. But I mean, I run it like a business. So we have girls come back every year. And we've got some that have been there longer than I have. And they will keep coming back because I have a family environment, a friendly, professional environment. Nobody's, I have girls that work with us in the summer and they go away, work somewhere else, Miami, Berlin, some ski resorts, wherever it might be. And they'll message me going, oh my God, this club I've got is awful. The owner tried to do this to me in the office and they ripped me off with this and la, 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 la. Oh, we can't wait for the summer to start again. Because they know they come to Taboo. If they earn the money, they get paid.
Yeah.
They're completely safe. They're not going to get, anything dodgy is going to happen on my watch. Everything's legit. And that is where we keep all of our stuff. So we have probably 70% of the girls return every year. So we don't have to find many new girls, to be fair.
I always find that, and I always say that if a company has their employees for a long time, they're doing something right. There's a couple that I'm thinking of straight away it's been the same staff for years and years and years. So they've obviously treating them correctly. And we all know that over the years in Ibiza and other tourist destinations that workers don't get treated correctly sometimes.
Well, when I used to run all of the workers groups on Facebook, I would have people come and tell me horror stories.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to name any names.
No, of course.
They go, I just went for a trial at this job and they said they pretty much got the job, but they want me to come and trial again. And then I trialed for 2 weeks. And then they told me I haven't got the job and they're not paying me. And I'm like, I mean, you're getting ripped off. That's it. That person has ripped you off.
It happened a lot, didn't it?
They're doing it over and over and over again throughout the whole season, getting free trial staff on the promise of a full-time job. No one ever gets the full-time job. And it was shocking what other people would get up to, which I'd never do that kind of stuff.
It's shady.
Yeah,
it's proper shady.
So dodgy. And, I've advised people many a time about what to do or how to do it to try and get some money or whatever. And it's a shame that people do that kind of stuff because then you get tarnished by your profession is tarnished. Or you own a bar in Ibiza. Well, my mate had a job and they got ripped off and whatever. So it's kind of like, the strip club owner manager vibe on the whole is a bit of a sleazy position or a job. But for me, that's just a role. So I make sure it's a safe workplace environment. Everyone gets paid on time. All the bills are paid. The licenses are in place. Everything's done professionally. So, I think that has to be the way. Otherwise, you're maybe more of a flash in the pan.
It's typical you though, Nathan. Professional, isn't it? So with moving on from the nightlife industry, you then went on to the businesses that I'm not too familiar with you running, the concierge and your villa businesses. Yeah. What made you shift from the nightlife into concierge?
Well, so the concierge, I'd seen some friends of mine had bought a single boat. And again, I saw the potential of this business that they'd started. So it was already called a Ibiza Concierge Company before I arrived.
Okay.
You had one single boat, and that was it. I was like, okay, well, this has real potential. We could get another boat. We could start doing villa rentals. We could actually start providing VIP services and club tickets and all those kind of things that you expect from a concierge company, rather than just rent one single boat. So I came on board, invested obviously my money. We became equal partners. And now we've got 4 boats, the biggest of which is the largest charter boat in San Antonio. We've got hundreds of villas on our books. Last year, I think we had 700 boat charters over the course of the season. So we've got thousands of customers, got concierge clients from Dubai and India on the one hand to West Coast of America on the other hand, and a lot of them are return business, So we host them once, and then next year they come back and go, you knocked it out of the park for me last year, we're going to come with you again this year. And we organize everything from transfers and private chefs and all that kind of stuff. So it was such a small core business when I arrived, and now we've expanded, and we're still expanding. So
how do you manage the clients? Obviously, a lot of them will be high profile, will be high wealth. How do you manage their demands? Do you have to get that well in advance, or a lot of this will be like, I want this tomorrow, and it's just like,
if someone asks us last minute, then obviously the money that they're going to pay reflects the fact we're doing everything last minute. But usually, the kind of people that we work with will be months in advance. They're the kind of people that have got money and they know they want to spend it. They want to spend it in the right way.
And the staff will be in touch.
I'll get a chat organized, and we'll have a meeting like this, and I'll just take notes on one single A4 sheet every day. Okay, this date, AM. Have you had any thoughts what you want to do? No? Okay, well, it's a Monday. And on a Monday, this goes on at this place. And I talk to them about it, and they go, that sounds brilliant. So I go, okay, right. What I'll pencil in Monday afternoon, we're going to go do this. Okay, Monday night, do you have any ideas? Oh, yeah, well, I'd heard about Leo or something. Oh, yeah, cool. Leo's really good on a Monday. That's great. I'll mark that in. I'll go get some prices, see availability, and we'll work our way through the whole week. And before you know it, we've got like a pretty good timetable for their whole week scheduled. And then I build around the transportation. I always get them to go onto a boat, because boat charters are fantastic, honestly. Don't just say that as a boat charter owner. And then, by the time they leave, they go, that was brilliant. We did everything we could have dreamed of doing. We saw the coolest things. We danced to the best music. We saw the, beautiful sea. We swam in it, all that kind of stuff. So we kind of like dream makers, for people that don't want to just do it on their own. We
so
make
you go and book the tables and
yes. Then that is a long process. It's
That
fits into my 16 hours a day work.
Yeah, people think it's easy booking a table, but it's not. What table? How many people? What part of the club? This, that. It's just
back and forth.
There's so much more to it than people just thinking. Planning and this is another reason why I'm doing this podcast series, is just to make people understand the work that goes on behind event building, like over here, and concierge, and just running a bar, because obviously a lot of this is just for 6 months. So you've got to make 6 months money, or 6 months time period work, because Ibiza is shut in the winter.
Well, this comes really neatly onto the next new business. It's only 2 years old, Ibiza International. So we're a real estate agency, and it's all year round. So the idea was that there's me and 2 other guys from 2 other concierge companies. We have these high net worth individual clients, and they want to rent villas, they want to buy villas, they want to invest. So we kind of put our heads together and decided, well, if we created our own boutique agency, we will be able to sell beautiful properties to people from all over the world through our database, but also, if we advertise in the right way and we come in and we do everything professionally, then we'll attract the right clients. So it's been an eye-opener. It's not been as easy as I'd say easy. Nothing's ever easy, but
not in Ibiza.
But I really feel we've turned the corner this winter. We're signing some huge villas that no one else has got. Once you've got something exclusive to you, it's going to sell at some point. So, we're really excited for the future.
Yeah, I've been watching you do that.
Because I've always loved property. I don't know why. I've always wanted to be a real estate agent, and I can't really put my finger on why, but I love it.
And that's actually leads neatly on to my next question. How do you think the Ibiza property market has changed over the last 10 years or so? Because there are a lot of stories, well, not stories, there is proof that the housing prices have rocketed, both rental and sales, and affecting people being able to work on the island and stay and live on the island. And how does that affect your business?
I think it's overpriced, but it is it's a really small market of what is actually available at the right price. So you can have something on the market that is overpriced and it will sit there for years until maybe the market catches up. When things are priced correctly, they sell quickly because there's enough people out there who are motivated. But you'll remember, like, every worker's apartment in San Antonio was a bit of a dump, generally speaking. And when COVID hit and all of a sudden there was when Brexit kicked in and all of a sudden there was no British workers, everyone expected that the arse would fall out of the rental market and there would be tons and tons and tons of vacant, low quality, old school apartments. And that hasn't happened because there's so much new building work here in Ibiza or here in San Antonio. Every corner that was a plot of land has been bought, new apartment blocks going up. And so who's moved into all the old workers' blocks all year round? It's the builders. So you've got these builders have come on, taken a contract to build an apartment block, which could be 18 months. And the contractor rented up blocks of apartments because they need, 20, 30, 40 beds for all of their workers. And they're all year round business. So now there's actually not enough apartments for what we consider summer workers. And the price is enormous. Pre-COVID, or like, let's say 2019, I had a 4-bedroom apartment which slept 10 girls that I was using for Taboo, and I was paying 1,800 euros a month, including electricity. And when, after COVID, we got, I think the best apartment I could find was absolute shithole, and it was 3-bed. One of those bedrooms didn't even have a window. It slept 6, and it was 1,900. So it was more than the apartment from 2 years before or 3 years before that was for 10 beds, and I'm getting this dump for 6 beds. And then the very next year, I tried to find somewhere else better, and I got a quote. Oh no, we've still got one of these apartments left. She's like, oh well, bet the devil you know. Fine. Oh, the rent's gone up a little bit. The rent had gone up 38% over year on year. I was like, so now I was paying nearly $3,000 for what was a dump of an apartment block. So the whole block was awful. So it's nearly $3,000 for 6 beds. And we're going, it's untenable. So they were awful apartments. So I had a long-term rental, which I'd been renting out very reasonably, like 950 euros a month all year round. And I was like, well, it makes no sense that I should be paying for my staff to be in a dump of an apartment for $3,000 a month when I'm renting my own personal apartment, which is much bigger, much nicer, for 950 euros a month. So I gave 6 months notice on that. And then the next summer, the girls moved into my own apartment for a fraction of the price. And then also my mum and dad can live in that apartment in the winter. So they come over 3 months at a time.
Awesome.
So it's great for family, great for business. But that's the way around it. But not everyone has got their own apartment.
Yeah. I mean, I was fortunate enough in 2003 that when it's Rumours, Gorm's Garage, and Villains, we had they paid for our apartments. The block of flats next door to the ship, and we were one of possibly one of the only bars on the West End that the accommodation was provided and we still got decent wages. And that was amazing, you know, but we all lived together. But also, I suppose that the cost of living in Ibiza, people can now work remotely. So there's more people living in Ibiza all year round because you can literally work remote.
Digital nomads have put a huge price up. So there are people renting out apartments and houses and thinking, well, you know, compared to the price of a centrally located apartment in London or Berlin or Paris, Ibiza is actually pretty reasonably priced, or it's comparably priced. And if your job doesn't require you to be in an office, you can set up office here in Ibiza with a nice sea view. So, yeah, I mean, there is talk that no EU citizens, so British, American, whatever, will not be allowed to buy in Spain because they have a bit of a housing crisis, and that they think that's a way of discouraging people from buying property for the golden visa and all that kind of thing. I don't think it's necessarily really going to have the effect that they think it's going to, but they are trying to put a lot of people off. They, you know,
things are changing. Yeah. But what advice would you give someone who wanted to start a business in Ibiza these days?
Well, first of all, you have to have
read your
funds.
book.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. Yeah. First of all, you have to have funds because it's not cheap.
Yeah.
You know, I was very lucky that I bought my first house in Nottingham in 2001 for £62,500, and I sold it 4.5 years later for £109,000. And that money was what I got Viva with. So without funds, it's difficult. You can, of course, be the idea person. And if someone's got a really, really, really good idea, and it just needs help, by all means, get in touch with me. Because if I think it's a good business, I'll
invest.
So, you know, almost like a Dragon's Den type situation. But generally, if you want to do it on your own, you have to have money behind you.
Yeah.
And you have to be committed, and you have to work every hour of the day and not sit back and expect that the job's just going to get done. You know, it always used to blow my mind every year when some of the bars in the West End would open their doors, and you could see they'd barely even been in that bar since they closed the doors. They probably just mopped it up, opened the doors and gone, right, where's our customers coming today? Whereas I was doing, you know, reunions in the UK and doing like teaser campaigns and opening weekend and, you know, trying to do all that kind of stuff. But, you know, if you are modern thinking and your product is good, then you've got every chance to be a success. But not everything I do is a success. I've had failures.
Yeah, I think
failures, you know,
we learn from those failures.
You learn far more from failures than you do from your successes. Your successes make you think you can do the exact same thing again with the same result. But if you're not flexible enough to understand that, you know, you might be think you're the same and your product's the same and everything's the same, but you're 5 years later. So I remember restarting the bar crawls 5 years after we'd stopped them, and it flopped. People didn't want it. That product was done. It was a product of its time, and it could not be resurrected no matter how hard I tried. Whereas we were taking groups of 100+ people around every night into bars, and it just
the culture changes. Party culture changes. Drinking culture changes. And you personally, do you see yourself staying in Ibiza forever, or is there another chapter ahead?
I mean, every time we go anywhere, I mean, Nicole and the family, every time we go anywhere, honestly, I look around and I say to Nicole, will we live here? I do it jokingly now because I say it about everywhere. But literally, you know, we were in Barbados. I was like, oh, could you live here? She's like, we're not moving to Barbados. I was like, oh, no, but, you know, we could. And I always think of that about everywhere. So if something takes my fancy, I've been here 20 odd years. If something takes my fancy, I won't rule it out going. You know, I do think that if I got rid of all my businesses and I just rented out the properties that I've got, we could be anywhere. I mean, where I'm recording this now, how the market is, this is a very profitable income-wise rental. So I could rent this out and probably go anywhere. Obviously, I couldn't then work in Ibiza if I'm not in this house.
Yeah, that's where you get your buzz, isn't it? The buzz of the business and entrepreneurship, and if that's a word,
it is.
Entrepreneurship.
It is.
And we're we're getting on a bit now, so I'm going to ask you a final question, Nathan, because this has been thoroughly entertaining and again woken up some of my dead brain cells. Finally, if you were to end a set, because obviously you're a DJ, we didn't even touch on your DJ. Do you DJ still now?
No, I played my last set at Sam Park, who is now Sam Harley, who is my partner in crime.
Oh, yeah, yes, Sam, yes.
She asked me to DJ at her wedding, so I came out of retirement and I played at her wedding. I think that was 2014 or maybe 15. I can't remember.
Wow, almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. And yeah, my favorite track. There's a couple going through my brain, but
last tune of the night. What would it be?
It's
one more
tune.
Tune.
Lana Del Rey, Blue Jeans, the MK remix.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah.
This afternoon in the office, going, what a tune!
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm sure we're going to layer that over the ending of this. But Nathan, thank you so much for joining me. And I'll be seeing you over in Ibiza very soon.
Perfect. I only actually got one very brief hug this summer or last summer, so we'll have to have a
yes. I was in the West
outside the bar.
Do you know what? It's really frustrating because we have so many events on in that particular period of time that I spend most of my week or 10 days in my hotel room because I cannot get anything done. Everything I do is online. Nick's involved with the operations on the island. I don't really get involved in that sort of stuff. And so all of my input into the events is digital. And if I go and sit somewhere like in SIBO or something like that, one of my old mates to see me and sit next to me, and that's it. That's the time gone. And so I literally hunker down in my hotel and just pop out occasionally. And this year we have God's Kitchen as well. So it's another big event. And so I think I might have to bring someone over with me to help me out this year because I want to get out more and see everybody. But
I'm sure you do.
It's impossible though. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
You know, come on, let's go and have a drink here. But no.
I mean, I barely drink anymore.
Like all of us are the same.
I mean, I might once or twice a month, maybe at a real push. And then the next day I feel so unproductive.
Yeah.
So I have to just, I'll never be teetotal because I can control when I drink and what I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't do me any favors when I've had a few drinks.
No, it's not the drinking's the easy part. It's the day after.
Yeah, the aftermath.
Nice one, Nathan. You've been an absolute joy to speak to, and I'll catch up with you in the summer.
Nice one. Thank you. See you soon.